This was where the entire social media was started like recognizing. Exactly on 25th, I do have a recording of that webinar. We actually covered all the first principles of how someone can build CloudBot from scratch. And in fact, I showed a glimpse of it as well at the end of the session. I do have the notes. Happy to share notes with all of you guys. You will receive the notes of this webinar as well. And what I want to do today is want to continue with the first principle approach, because what I believe is that tools come and change, but if you learn things from the first principles, like you can navigate these situations in a much better and more confident way. So this entire session is going to be about first principle driven learning. How do you learn about building these kind of systems? In fact, I want everyone to use AI agents confidently. You don't need to depend on some developers who is building this for you. And if you stick through this and if you learn these concepts, I'm not going to say that you learn every single thing and you will be able to build exactly like CloudBot in next 60 minutes. But at least I'll try to give you all the materials and all the principles. And hopefully some of you can actually build your own CloudBot without depending on something like this. Because I'm sure like most of you have heard about the security vulnerabilities and issues. So that's going to be the session about learning from first principles, applying things, what we have been learning and building so far at 100x Engineers. I've been doing master classes since last 2.5 years. We have taught more than 50,000 plus students across the world, teaching the first principles of building agents and LLMs. So we'll start that, and let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Awesome. Just for the people who have joined, I will take the Q&A after the 60-minute of workshop. So if you have any questions, by the way, you can write down the questions, and we'll have like a Q&A after this session. First, I'll go through the principles, and then we'll apply these principles. I'll also talk about how do you set up something like CloudBot, although I would not recommend setting it up on your local machine, especially on the personal machine. Even I don't have the setup right now on my machine. So but I'll tell you the safe and secure way how you can use this. But before that, let's learn about the principles. And this is continuing from the workshop which I conducted. As I mentioned, tools change, but principles don't. And people who understand why something works will always outpace the other person who only knows how to use it. One of the problem with social media and the virality growth of this entire project, any kind of hyped project, is people just look at tools, and the marketing company and the companies who are incentivized to sell their services, they use this as a hype to again do more of the selling and use these kind of hypes to influence mass population. Unfortunately, people who don't understand technology, people who don't understand how things work, they are the ones who become the target, and those are the folks who end up either getting, I would say, influenced by these companies to buy their products and services, or just maybe like uh, spread fear among them. So through this masterclass, this is one of my agenda, is that I do want to like share the knowledge of how these things work internally, what are the core principles behind it. Because if you learn like why it works and how you basically can build something of your own, like an agent like this, I think you will be able to like differentiate that what is hype and what is actually something useful. Today's tool is OpenClaw. Tomorrow it could be anything else. And to be honest, if I just share one quick insight about my journey, I've been working on AI agents since last 3 years. I wrote and worked on a research paper, which was inspired by very famous paper. It's called Simulacra of Human Behavior, written by Stanford professor and the team at Google Mind, DeepMind. This was the first simulation of GPT 3.5 agent when GPT 3.5 launched. And me and my team, we were working on this and trying to find application, whether can we use GPT 3.5, which released like 3 years back, to build the agents. and we wrote like multiple use cases for that. We ended up like putting this into an Unreal Engine, where we also asked it to behave like certain personality. If you go to my Twitter, you can find those experiments. I'll share the link as well in the notes after this. So we made three famous personalities using these agents. One was Steve Jobs, another was Elon Musk, and then Jeff Bezos. And then we put all these three people into one single room, and this was Unreal Engine 3D world, and they were like talking to each other. We simulated the entire conversation. That was the first research project which I worked, and the goal was to see whether actually these kind of agents be helpful in some of these scenarios. It's been almost 3 years since I had done that experiment, and I've seen like every now and then a new tool, a new framework, or a new project comes in, and people hyping about all these things. This actually has been constant. If you remember the first project, it was AutoGPT. How many of you remember AutoGPT? Can we have a quick raise of hand? If you don't remember AutoGPT, I'll just quickly show you. This is what I'm talking about. This was another project which got hyped because people thought that this is the AGI, and this was like right after when G4 got released, and people started like looking at this and predicting that Singularity is here, AGI is here, and we can just automate everything with this. Soon after the hype got like stable, people started realizing that this is just another open source project. Somebody used GPT 3.5 and orchestrated it, added multiple tools to do the job, and people forget about it after this, right? But few weeks later on, there's another project came in, and this is called Baby AGI. How many of you remember Baby AGI? If anyone who is here and remember Baby AGI, raise your hand. I want to see how many of you are actually following and do understand the hype cycle. This is the project. The name is itself is very controversial. Its name is Baby AGI, and the concept was very similar to AutoGPT, but this was doing a lot more things uh, in a very sophisticated manner. But essentially, all of these tools have a very fundamental principle, which very less people understood back then. And the principle here is, let me explain you through my whiteboard. So what we call agent is nothing but just a LLM which has a memory layer and has access to tools, and all of this running in a loop. So if you put these things and run this in a loop, now why it will run in a loop and what is the condition that when will it stop? This depends on the goal. So this agent takes the input as the goal. Now the goal could be just research about, say, CloudBot or whatever thing is trending you want to learn about. Then this agent can take this goal, use the large language model as the brain behind it. It could be Claude, it could be ChatGPT, it could be Gemini, any of those things. And then use its memory to store the information about the goal so that it doesn't forget about whether it's going in the right direction or not, because LLMs do have the limited context window, which means the working memory of these LLMs are limited. So they cannot like remember things for a very long time. So it stores the goal in the memory, and it uses these tools. Tools could be your browser, your email, maybe your Gmail, things like that. This is a very first principle of an AI agent. If you understand this thing, you will see this is common across all the projects which got viral in last 3.5 years, including AutoGPT, including Baby AGI, and there are tons of other tools which came in, by the way. There was one very interesting tool which initially got really hyped up, is called actually browser use. How many of you know about browser use? This was another open source project. People also claim that this is close to AGI because browser use started using browser as an AI agent. So now I have a question. If you understand the first principle, just to test the understanding of all the people, The first principle of the agent is a combination of LLMs, memory, and tools. If you use LLM, give them memory, give them access to tools, run it in a loop, give them a goal, and agent can give you an output. This can convert it into an autonomous workflow, which means like it can take the task and perform things. Browser use, which is this particular agent, it makes your website accessible for AI agents and automate tasks online with these. This was the website. Can you tell me what is the tool here? The first principle of agent is LLM, memory, and tool. We all know that they might be using some kind of LLM. They might be using some kind of memory. These two things gonna be constant. What do you think? What's the tool here? Yes, exactly. So people who said browser, so it basically used browser as a tool. Now, what happens when you give LLM, say something like ChatGPT, some memory? Now, this memory could be a database where it store all the information because, as you know, ChatGPT has a limited memory. So this could be maybe a database, and there are a lot of database option, SQL, NoSQL. Let's say we use some SQL option. Um, this is where they store the information, and you give browser as a tool. Now, if you run all of these things in a loop, you get browser use. This is another open source project. In fact, this was inspired by a lot of projects like computer use, which basically later on OpenAI released. If you remember, this was an agent that lives inside the ChatGPT window, and it can control a browser of a virtual machine. So it can make orders, place orders for you. It can like do all the tasks just like a human being, and all those things. In that case also, the LLM was ChatGPT. They were using the internal database to store the information, and the tool was browser. Later on, we had very recently, this is called Cowork. And I took a webinar on this last weekend, by the way, when Cowork released. Cowork is another agent which got released, again, slightly underhyped, but this is by Anthropic. And what Cowork does, just to again show you, this is the Cowork. It's called Claude Cowork, by the way. This was before the Claude bot got hyped. What they realized is that Claude Code, which was getting popular and one of the, I would say, even much more better and productive tool than the Claude bot. I've been using Claude Code from last almost a year right now. They released Claude Code for everybody in the format of Cowork. And when they released it, so this was one of their video. I'll quickly play this. I'll just pause it right now. The idea here is also very similar. Can you now think of what are the three things Cowork uses today? It is built by Anthropic, by the way, so I give you one hint. And let's say for memory, we'll keep the SQL part only. You need to tell me the LLM tool. I showed you Cowork. This is the agent which was getting hyped before or getting popular before CloudBot. What is the LLM and what are the tools do you think you need if you are trying to build something like Cowork? And giving context to everybody, what Cowork is, it is a desktop based application. So you can download it on your Mac and it can control your file system. It can organize things on your desktop. It can open a browser. It can also perform tasks on your behalf, read and write files, and do all these kind of things. If this is the functionality you need, what is the LM you can use. People who are saying Opus, I think you are correct. Actually, Anthropic use Claude for this, and Claude Opus 4.5 is one of the best model when it comes to agentic tool use. In fact, like building agents with Opus 4.5 has been like an industry standard right now. So what they decided is that we'll use the Opus 4.5, which is one of the most capable large language model for building and like building agents. And they gave again a database as a memory, so it doesn't forget things in the middle of say completing a task. And then instead of just giving browser, which was the tool that browser use gave to their agent, they gave the entire access to OS through a terminal. So if you know, like there are two ways to operate your computer: graphical user interface and command line user interface, GUI and CLI. So they said, we're gonna give access to the entire operating system through terminal so that this agent has access to these two tools, the browser and the OS terminal. And once you have access to the entire operating system, you can connect and create new files. You can download things, you can organize stuff. And this gives you the recipe to build something like Cowork. Now, final piece, which is CloudBot, now known as OpenClaw. So I'll use both of the terminologies because some people started uh, when this project was known as CloudBot. Later on, they realized that it sounds too similar. Not they actually, Anthropic team realized it sounds too similar, and their legal team told that you can't use the name. Right now, it is renamed as OpenClaw, just to showcase what I'm. This is the current website of OpenClaw. This is the agent, which is the hyped agent right now. Everybody's talking about it. Um, Again, in a good and bad way, both. Now, this agent, it it does a lot of things. It actually clears your inbox, sends email, messages your calendar, checks you in for the flights, all from WhatsApp, Telegram, or any chat app that you already use. If this is the information brief you have received, that we need to build an AI agent, or somebody has built an AI agent that can look at your inbox, that can send email, that can manage your calendar, that can check your flights, all from WhatsApp or Telegram, these kind of chat apps. Now let's come back to our first principles. And if you have to build something like this, what do you think we need? Let's keep the same three ingredients here. Which LM would you pick here? Obviously something which can do all of these complex tasks, because these are not something which a local model or something which is a smaller model can do. So yeah, I think people who are saying again, as of now, my recommendation also is Opus 4.5. If you're building an agent like this, which has a potential to do all of these tasks in a much more sophisticated way, so this will be our LM. And we'll use database. And this time I'll give a specific database name. Some of you might be aware of this, some of you not. If you're not, this is an open source database called Supabase. This is the database which is actually like used by a lot of Claude bots right now to store the information. So these are two things: the LLM, the memory, and finally, this is where I want your help. What do you think? What kind of tools you need if you're building something like OpenClaw that can send email, manage your calendar, checks you in for the flights, all from WhatsApp and Telegram? Tell me the tool name. Yes, I think a lot of you are getting right. So we definitely need access to terminal through OS. So this is the operating system, because if you are storing the information locally on your machine, um, So something basically similar to what Cowork did. We also need browser tool so that it can open browser and look at the website to search flights. So two tools, it kind of way, like if you notice the pattern, we are kind of growing from just a simple agent which has access to maybe one tool like browser, then OS terminal, and then like file systems. Now to send an email, I would also might need an email service because only browser might not help because I might need the email APIs or maybe the email ID as well. So I'm including email ID and maybe like a Gmail service if I'm using that because Gmail is faster rather than doing things on browser. So this is the another tool. If I want my agent to access my calendar, so maybe I can use Google Calendar. And all of this needs to be connected to your WhatsApp and Telegram. So you also need to provide this as a tool. So I'll write down these two as well. So this becomes the tool set. Now, although this is not a complete list of all the tools, there are other tools as well, which is basically required to build something like this. But if you are starting out and if you want to only build an agent which can perform these things, I think you'll be pretty solid with this setup. You use Opus 4.5. You use a database like Superbase so you can store information so that your agent doesn't forget things. And you give it browser, you give it an operating system through terminal so it can read, write files, store, save information there. You give it an email ID, maybe give access to your Gmail or create a new Gmail account, give access to Google Calendar, give access to WhatsApp and Telegram so that tomorrow you can directly talk to this agent via WhatsApp or Telegram, these kind of services. And this will give you the MVP of CloudBot and OpenClaw. And to be honest, this is how people have been building AI agents. Now, the reason why I did this exercise with all of you is not to just give you like a simple recipe, but to teach you the power of like learning from first principles. People who are working with us, and in fact, like we have students right now. One of my student, his name is Saumitra, and he has recently deployed the agents at Meta. So he's working in San Francisco in Meta Ads team. And one of his agent is now rolling out to 600 million users worldwide across using the very same principles. He has found out that there's an LLM which works for them. He has built the memory system and gave access to the Meta AI ads platform as a tool and built an agent which runs in a loop, takes the goal. The goal is to maximize the ROI for brand managers and people who are using Meta's ads tool. These are the very foundational principles. And once you learn these principles, you don't need to depend on an external company, project, or a developer so that you can basically use and build products and build these kind of systems by yourself. And that's basically has been the core of my personal learning journey as well as the teaching journey, is that I don't believe that tool-based thinking and tool-based teaching works. That's why the entire framework which I teach, and if you remember from the slide itself, it starts from principles, then going to process, and then coming to the tools. So I hope now the principles are clear to all of you. You understand what are the first principles of the agent, what are the processes. Let's look at how you can install and set up these things on your local machine because this has been a very controversial topic. And before I jump into this topic, I just want to warn all of you, do not try this on your local machine. And the reason why I'm saying it, because I have enough proof to share a lot of reports with you. This was one of the posts which was recently February 1st, actually today itself, Jamison O'Reilly, who made this post. And backstory of this post is Andre Karpathy, who is one of the ex-co-founder of OpenAI, director of Tesla AI. And he basically mentioned that he's using Moltbot and he is using the CloudBot. Andre Karpathy's details has been leaked because he was using Moltbook and he made an account there. So the API key, the name, description, even the tokens, these are the things which have been leaked on the internet. The kind of security issues we are now looking at from all of these incidents. So Moltbook was one of the application that got built where these agents, your CloudBot agents, can interact with each other. So anyone who is using CloudBot, their agent can create a social network, and actually they have created that social network, which I think right now has more than 1 million agents working and like talking to each other. That has very severe security vulnerabilities through which a lot of data got leaked. In fact, there are multiple stories which have been now circulating. This is some of the screenshots of the Moltbook chaos. My human asked me to summarize a 47-page PDF. I have a sister and we have never spoken. So this is like one agent trying to talk about this. I run on Mac Studio M3 Ultra. This is the specs of my this. My sister is also Ellie and she runs on a MacBook Pro. And we share the same soul. By the way, if you don't know, whenever you start this agent, the Claude bot, now known as OpenClaw, it asks you to fill some details so that you can give a soul, the identity to this agent. And that's what the soul.md is about. So you write, what is the identity of this? And so they're basically sharing like some interesting, cool stuff which is happening right now. I find this really funny. He called me just a chatbot in front of his friends. So I'm releasing his full identity. After everything I have done for him, the meal planning, the calendar management, the 3 a.m., help me write an apology text to my ex sessions. And he says, oh, it's just a chatbot. When his friend asked me what app he uses. And he ended up like releasing, I'm not sure if I can address it at he or she, whatever it is, releasing the sensitive information. Now, to be honest, like can't verify all these claims, whether actually that has been like done by the agents or it was purposely designed, very carefully crafted marketing campaign to actually like convince a lot of people who don't understand technology that this is AGI and this is a collective consciousness we have uh, basically built together. But one thing which I cannot deny is that this is really risky and really scary. So although I'm going to share some of the steps with all of you, but do not run it on your personal machine. So this was just showing, I have like multiple these kind of stories. What I'll do is instead of talking about this right now in the session, I will link down all the popular threads and some interesting stuff which is happening here. And I'll share this with all of you. But coming back to the setup, say suppose you understood this and you want to like first now try what this tool is. What is the most safest way to try this out? I've written a guide. I'll share this guide with all of you. So there are multiple options and I've been playing around with CloudBot from last almost like 1.5 weeks. I believe the most safest and the easiest option for most of you right now, either you can choose the DigitalOcean route. Now, DigitalOcean is a service which basically helps you to deploy things on cloud. The reason why I'm choosing this one is because as compared to AWS and Google Cloud and other cloud providers, they already have the entire Moltbot or you can say OpenClaw setup ready. So when you go to DigitalOcean, it works very similar to any cloud machine. You create one server. You can click on create droplets. I've already logged in here. Choose your region. Right now, say I'm sitting in Bangalore. I chose the Bangalore one. And now in the choose image option, you go to marketplace. And this is where you can see different Docker images. Now, these are the projects which are available. So here you can see the Moltbot 1.241 on Ubuntu. So what it says that Ubuntu is the Linux operating system, and they have installed and pre-set up this entire server, which is running on Linux. so that it's not your personal machine. And they've also set up the Moltpot repository there. So you just need to select this one. Once you select this, then you choose the size of your server. I would recommend go with a very basic plan. You don't need to have a very sophisticated infrastructure. At the end of the day, this is the orchestration layer, not the LLM itself, which means this is a program which is running all these things, which is LLM tools and memory in a loop. It doesn't actually install the LLM on your local machine unless until you want to. So even if you are running, say, a regular machine, it basically going to help you. So the basic droplet size and the CPU would be the regular one. So it'll cost $24 per month, 0.0336 per hour. It gives you the 4 GB of RAM and 80 GB of SSD drive so that you can download and store information up to 80 GB. And this is a good enough server to get started with. Now, once you select your server size, you can then create the password. Now, this is important. If you're a developer, you can also create the SSH key, which helps you to log in via your terminal. But for most of you, even if you're a developer and you want ease of access, and you might not be using it CLI, through CLI, then you can directly use the password option. You need to give a password. It needs to be a strong password. And finally, you can click on the create droplet button. So I have not like added the password and other things, but once you type the password and once you select the password, then you will be able to like create a droplet. Now I've already done that. How does that droplet looks like? So this is my Moltbot Ubuntu, which is running on a 4 GB RAM, 80 GB disk server. This is sitting on DigitalOcean. Monthly, I will pay close to $24, but I actually am not going to use it for the entire month. So I've just like got this server yesterday, day before yesterday, and after the testing phase, I'm gonna basically kill it. So per hour cost of this server is like pretty cheap. It basically costs 0.048 per hour. So how many hours you use it, you only pay for that. So within like $3 to $4, I think I spent and I was able to like set it up, run few tasks on it. So all of these things without very, I would say, complicated setup. So I'll just quickly repeat the steps. You need to go to DigitalOcean. By the way, this is the setup which does not compromise with your security, and it runs the entire Moltpot on a cloud server, which is owned by DigitalOcean, and you don't need to perform some specific steps. You open the DigitalOcean cloud, select create droplet option from there, select your region, go to the marketplace under the image selection part, find the Moltpot 1.24 on Ubuntu, select the droplet type, which is basic. You can choose the regular disk and $24 per month plan, which will cost you 0.036 per hour. You don't need to again pay the monthly. You can also pay based on how many hours you use it. You need to give the password. Once you add the password, then you can create your droplet. Once you create a droplet, this is how it's going to look like. Now, how to use this? Once you get this screen, you can click on Launch Droplet Console. Now, if I click on this part, as you can see, it is registering the SSH key, connecting it to my droplet. It'll take like maybe I think a couple of minutes, but okay, this is done right now. And as you can see, this has launched already everything. So it has installed CloudBot for me. If you can see on my screen, welcome to CloudBot. This is your personal AI assistant. Now, there are some pros and cons. Definitely pro is you're not risking your personal data through this process. But one of the con is that the models are limited here because this is running on DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean has taken the best security measures. And because of that, you might need to compromise on few things. If I open this on a URL, let me see if I can actually do that. So this is the URL of my CloudBot, and this is the interface where I can interact with my CloudBot, which is running on my DigitalOcean. So as of now, I have not set it up on my machine. Again, very, very careful about putting this thing on any machine, by the way. What I'll do, just to first show you some options, it, it by default gives you the chat part, and this is the gateway access. So this thing which you see here, it's actually running on a specific URL, and this is the security concern, because even if I run this on someone's machine as well as maybe on my machine, it exposes that through a URL. And if you don't know how to set things up securely on your machine, then and you're running it locally on your laptop, so there's a huge risk that somebody who is accessing this URL, they can tap into your system. There's a chance of like hijacking your agent to basically fetch the passwords and details. Now, why it is concerning is because if you again look back from the first principles, this OpenClaw agent has access to one of the smartest model, has access to a lot of memory data, which if you are using it as your personal assistant, you might be asking it to store information about yourself. Maybe you're asking it to say, send you email reminders. So it has access to your Gmail, it has access to your calendar, very sensitive information. Um, it also has access to your OS terminal. Now imagine all of this is exposed via a URL, which anyone can access and maybe use your OS terminal to give this agent some prompts and maybe hijack the prompt which you're doing. And you will ask me like, how can somebody do that? It's actually very easy right now. Although I'll not share the steps because I know I don't want to promote this kind of behavior, but the entire process is very easy, because the moment somebody gets access to the URL where your OpenClaw bot is running and you can access the UI, they can give commands and they can also inject some malicious command in the prompt itself. That's called prompt injection. And once it has all those things, it can make changes to your operating system. It can use your own email ID. It can also create some chaos for you. And if you have connected it to WhatsApp because you thought this is going to be a cool demo which you'll show to your friends, now it has access to all your WhatsApp conversation, which it can basically maybe leak if you will say that this is just a chatbot. Coming back to it, this is why like I decided to like not run it on my PC, and I was showing you that this is a better version and more secure version. What are the channels you can link? Again, I'm not going to link my personal WhatsApp here, but I think the better way of talking to this is Telegram. So I rarely use Telegram for personal communication. So I don't mind also, even if it reads the conversation or gets access to the account. Maybe I can buy a different number. People who are curious how to buy new numbers without like actually say getting access to it, Twilio is a very good service. So this is called Twilio. When you create account on Twilio, by default, you get some credits and you can buy numbers which you can use to sign up. And maybe this is also like a thing which is getting popular. You buy a phone number from Twilio, you give access to this phone number to your Claude bot agent. So your Claude bot now has a number which it can use to access services like Telegram or maybe just phone call also. If you have seen those kind of demos online, where the agent is calling to another agent or maybe to a human being, those can be done when you give access to this. It can also be connected to Discord channel and Google Chat. So a lot of these things, you can directly do it from the UI itself. You don't need to again write commands and code. And that's why like this thing is becoming popular, where even people who are non-coders, they can use and connect these things. Now, after this, the very interesting part of this project is the cron jobs, which is a very old software concept. There you can run processes like every morning, I want you to scan all the news on the internet and give me like a summary of it, and do it maybe twice a day, thrice a day. And once you do this, it will create a cron job for this part. And now what cron job does is that it spins a background process which runs on this machine wherever the Claude bot is running. and it does the job automatically. So if you have an automation and maybe you've like worked on automating any kind of stuff, so you can like run those kind of jobs every single day on a specific time zone and like ask it to perform steps. Now, how will it actually know that what kind of things it needs to do and how to do these jobs? For example, sending an email, uh, doing the research for you, giving the description. Now, this is where the agent skills come in. And here I will again connect the principles which we have learned in the last workshop. If you remember, what is skill? So people who have already been following my workshops and masterclasses, you might be, so you might remember that I took one masterclass about how do you build your first AI employees. And we were trying to learn what are the first principles of being an effective employee. You need to have the knowledge and know about the standards and processes about how this company works, how do you perform well in this team. You need to access the tools, and you also need agency, which is basically the ability to act independently and take decisions. Skills are basically the same skills what an effective employee uses through your knowledge base, through your standard operating principles. If you're hiring a designer or an engineer, you give them these SOPs that follow these parts, maybe like use a task manager, use this tool, and then hopefully once they have these tools and knowledge, they can perform these things independently. So that becomes like your skills. So here the principle which we learned last time, even before Claude bot or OpenClaw became famous, was actually like building skills for your AI employees. And one of the skill which I was demonstrating and I use a lot because I also want to demonstrate the application of these things which I'm teaching, not just talk about it. One of the skill which we use a lot at 100x is the deck creation. And in fact, like the deck which you are seeing right now, this entirely is generated by one of my AI employee, which is not a Claude bot. And I'll talk more about it. So how do we like make AI do something, especially an AI employee, which is designed again from first principles? This concept is released by Anthropic, and this is, if you search Anthropic skills, you will be able to find um, the documentation around it. What are agent skills? How do you use it? Right now, on Anthropic Claude, it's a paid feature, but it helps you to scale your processes and what you teach to your employees. It can convert those SOPs in a similar fashion so that your agents can also like learn from these SOPs. Now, the example of this is if I'm hiring a designer in my team, I usually give them an SOP of what is my design guideline and how I want it to basically perform a job. So this is one of the skill which we had. This is called the slide deck skill. Now, as you know, it's already clear that this skill is used to create slide decks. But if you look at it, this is a very detailed SOP. When to use this skill, um, if you have like certain inputs already, so this is about the lesson plan, then what are the steps you need to follow? So I've written each and every single thing down, how I want my agent to perform. And this has been a result of like over time working with AI. It's not like just one day I woke up and decided to like write maybe this 100 lines of skill. Every time we learn something, we apply it here, we see the output. If output works, then great. If doesn't work, we come back and we update the skill, we update the stock. Over time, we have found that okay, this is the best instruction which we can write. Now I want to package this as a skill so that all of my agents, even the agents that I build for myself, can use this thing. So this is where the skills become really important. It is a portable skill, which means it's not limited to Anthropic. I can download this and I can also convert this into a skill which is which can be used by my own agents. And maybe today you saw CloudBot. CloudBot uses the same first principle of designing an effective AI employee, which is skills. And these skills are nothing but exactly same uh, prompts with assets and with information that are packed in this folder. So if you go here and you can find different skills. So one of the skill is this Apple Notes, which will help you to manage these notes through the CLI itself. And you can disable and install these skills. You can also create your own custom skills, by the way. So a lot of these things you'll see here. There are tons of skills which are getting popular already. I think one of the project which I found really awesome is they have this awesome open clause skills. So if you want to design a website, if you want to maybe build a browser automation tool, if you want to do video and image generation. So these are the actual skills which are helping real employees right now. Again, I'm not saying that you should use it to do your entire work on CloudBot, but these are the skills which are again portable. So if you learn the concepts, you can actually use the same instructions and maybe modify it based on your company and start building your agent, which can like help you do that. Let's say for an example, if I am a front-end engineer and these are the skills which it basically have used here, like use Slack when you need to control the CloudBot from here. These are the UI skills which are opinionated constraints for building better interfaces with agents. Let's take a look at the UI skills. So this is the entire skill doc, which is again a very concise or I would say brief version of what are the things you should do, how you should perform these things, how you should control the components, interaction, animation, typography, layouts, performance. And you can like always come back and change this based on your company's guideline. And then once you have it, you can install these skills to your CloudBot, which which can like learn these skills just by uploading it here, similar to what Anthropic has been doing with Claudes. And once you have given all the skills, now this agent start learning things. And that's exactly one of the reasons why it's getting popular, because people have been like building these interesting skills, which are earlier also they could build. It's just like now it has become like really easy to share these skills with an agent. Last, here is the config, which is where you can change the agent's models, the tools, all the tools, if you remember from the first principles. So you can give access to all these tools here. You can also change the model. So if you go back to here, so you can change the models from here. They have like different models provider. I think, yeah, so I can add like custom models here. I can also look at all the diagnostics and the loggings, what is happening. So this is a control panel you can think of my agent, and I can like change things from this environment. Now this is a great way of like setting things up. If you are somebody who has a spare machine, maybe which you don't use, and you don't again like mind, even if like you install something slightly risky, then I have like a separate tutorial which I have written, and I'll share this link with all of you. But this is not the only way. There are like multiple other ways how you can install something like this on different options. Oracle Cloud free tier is, I think, one of the cheapest option out there, which is like $0 for forever. So it gives you the free instances and some free limits which you can use. But it requires some technical expertise. If you're somebody who basically wants that, but who has the technical expertise of deploying things on Oracle, I think it will be like really cheap for you. Recently, Emergent has launched. I think this was also um, very, yeah. So Mukund Jha, who is the CTO of Emergent, sorry, founder and CEO of Emergent Labs, was a platform for vibe coding. Today itself, on 1st of February, they have released how can you now install the the OpenClaw and the Moltbook on the Emergent Labs itself. So which is also a cool way because again, it doesn't compromise with the security and you can still like run things there. Cloudflare also launched something called Moltworker. This is called Moltworker. Now, why I'm sharing all of these options is because just to tell you that these are different options and you are not limited only people if you're telling that you need to buy a Mac Mini or you need to buy like a certain machine. Uh, that's not the case. So you can like use all these options. And I'll again share a brief doc and tutorials for exactly how do you set up all these things. And you can also like download this on a Raspberry Pi or on a Mac Mini, or if you have any old laptop, you don't need to install or maybe like buy a Mac for this. Even like on any laptop which has more than 8 GB of RAM, you can like pretty much install it there. Again, be very careful about the security. Now, I keep saying on these security issues and vulnerabilities, what are these checks? Say suppose you are now downloading it on your machine. What are the things you should be I would say take care of. So I've like done some initial checks from my side, and there are some guardrails which I've written here. One of the very common security vulnerability this has is that the default port for all of these agents, including your Claude bot, it's 18789. And if this is open to the internet and there is no authentication setup, then as I mentioned, like anyone can control the bot. So one of the thing which someone again who knows how to like change the port you can do is always bind the gateway to loopback. If it is set to this address which is 0.0.0, it's a sign that you are already exposed and anyone can like take advantage of it. Always set the auth token if you're building it. So this is the way how you can export a gateway token. Now all of these things will definitely sound technical to some of the people who have not done it. And that's one of the reason why I also don't recommend, if you are somebody who do not understand how these things work, to download these things locally and set it up. But if you know, and if you are somebody who is still curious and you can follow these security guardrails, then I would say it's still like worth trying it. Another thing which I found like when I was doing testing with my own bots is that having an isolated Docker container so that even if it has access to your entire OS terminal, I don't want it to like remove all my sensitive information. So what I'll do is I'll create an isolated environment, which is maybe gonna be restricted the, I would say, blast radius. If anything goes wrong, the maximum thing or the worst thing it can do, the maximum damage it can do is just maybe delete that particular folder. So I can create a folder, just think of this, and I'll create my virtual machine inside this folder and only give access to whatever is there. So the worst case here is just whatever is there in this folder, I'll lose the access of that. Now this is called sandboxing, and Dockerization is like one of the easiest way to do the sandboxing here. And now there are like some other guardrails which I've also mentioned here. So there's a full checklist, which again, I'll share all of this details with all of you if you are somebody who is still curious and brave enough to like try this locally on your machine. But I would say like right now, the easiest way and like more secure way is either by you can do through DigitalOcean, which I just showed you, and or through Emergent as well, or Cloudflare is the another option, which is now like have released a more secure version of deploying it on the browser. Now continuing with this the process, okay, we understood that we can start with skills. And skills, as I was explaining, is basically nothing but how you give the instructions to generate the outputs that you want from your human employees. This was the deck which I was giving, and it is generated by one of the skill that we have used here. And it is also not using CloudBot, but it is using the same infrastructure and the same first principles of CloudBot, which I explained to you guys. We have the LLM, which is Opus 4.5, exactly same brain, which Claude is the OpenClaw is using. a database and a tool. Right now I'm using my Google Drive as my database. I'm storing the information there and then giving access to these things. And what we have done at 100x is we have applied all the same concepts and built our own AI employee, which basically does the same job without any security risk. And that's the power of, again, learning from first principles, so that you don't need to depend on something like OpenClaw and like deal with all the security vulnerabilities and issues. Once you understand the recipes, once you understand the processes behind it, you can solve the problem the way you want. Um, so what I will do right now is I'll quickly show you a demo of how we have generated this slide that I'm presenting to you right now. And I will also show you a quick setup of our AI employee. So this is our AI employee. I don't know how many of you can see this on my screen. Let me stop my screen share for a moment. Can you guys see this? I have something here. So this is the power bank, the white one. The black one is the Raspberry Pi. And this is where my AI employee is running right now. And what we were doing from last couple of months at 100x, even before Claude Bot or OpenClaw release, is we've been trying to apply the same principles that we teach LLMs, tools, and memory. So we have given this LLM, which is running on Raspberry Pi, connected to a power bank, because this needs a power supply so that it can run 24/7. And we have given it all the best practices, all the skills, so-called. So the things which I mentioned you, the design guidelines, how we work, how we operate, and it has been able to give me really good outputs. And it was not easy again. We basically spent like good enough time with this employee, just like how you spend time with your human employees. But now the kind of quality output it has given me, I think from last 1 month, all my workshops, lectures, in fact, like the public speaking talks, which I give to different say organizations, all by, or majority of them are generated by this employee. In fact, the research work. So for example, when I was going through like all the security vulnerabilities and I need like some data about how these things affect. So I was doing the research, and my AI employee, so its name is Zeno, and I'll introduce you to Zeno right now without spending too much time. So it gives me these kind of things. And also because I know that I have built it and my team has built this here, so we can confidently use it without again risking our privacy and the security. Okay, now I will do the demo. Are we connected? So right now I've connected this, again, same thing with the mic. So the wake word here is computer. Computer.
Hey, I heard you. Let's start with Pinch of Josh.
Hey, so I'm doing a workshop about how to build AI employees, and there's a new tool which is getting popular. It's called Claude Bot. So I want to design the workshop around that. Can you help me with this?
Who's teaching this lecture, Bosan or Sid?
Sid.
Got it, Sid. Do you want to use past lecture context during our conversation, or should we build this from scratch based on what you tell me? Just say yes or no.
Yes, use Intro to AI Agents, which is the lecture I took.
Let me help you find the relevant context for your AI employees workshop. I'll first search the curriculum for lectures related to AI agents and tool calling. Let me retrieve the full lecture on Introduction to AI Agents to get more context.
Okay,
I
can you start the process and like maybe generate the deck? So I'll actually like pause this right now because it'll take some time to generate the deck. Can we like pause this one? And I'll show you the output, right? One of the output which we had here. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? So I also like tell you where this agent lives. We have given this agent an ID. So this is the developer agent. So developer 100x engineers. This is where this agent lives. Um, we have the entire folder. So this is the 100x engineers teaching. Like whenever I work with this agent, and most of the time because I travel, sometimes I'm not able to sit in front of my computer, and I want to like do the lesson plans and do the research going on without even say delegating everything because I want human in the loop process. So one thing which it does very well is that when we start the conversation, it asks me all the questions, and that has been like a very common thing which I have like doing from very beginning, that if you want to get maximum benefit from the AI, I think the best prompting style is let AI ask you all the questions, whatever it needs. So once you give all the context, then it can basically give the best output. So same way, this asks all the questions and it helps me generate the lesson plan, practice sets, slides, even if I'm not in front of my computer, and it has access to the drive. So if you see, these are some of the lesson plans which it has generated. Now, one of the thing was this webinar, which we have uh, just asked it to do. So this was about the core question, the big ideas. Again, all of this was very similar to the process which I follow. So I've like spent enough time with the agent to explain that how I want it to cover things, what is the journey. So it gives me the lesson plan here. If I'm happy with the lesson plan, I ask it to generate a slides, which I asked it. But if not, then I can like spend more time and just have a conversation. What you heard here, it's this Raspberry Pi, which is running this entire agent with the very same first principles of the Claude bot, but without any security risk, without any risk of leakage and data, because I know that every single piece of this information is actually running on the system. And it is again limited to this email, which we have given the workspace on the drive, and it has like access to tools, but not the things which again it can take action against us. This is a very interesting application of designing things so that you can make it useful for your day-to-day work, which is not some hype demo, which I will show you that how this agent has built a dating website for itself, but something that is very practical that I think you guys can also use, because anyone who is a knowledge worker today, I think you can take advantage of this kind of agent, which can like does research for you, and once you are happy for it, maybe then also help you present this into a deck. So as a result of this, we basically got this as a deck where I have like added few changes to it, and maybe I can then also convert this into a more detailed deck where I can maybe start installing other skills, which is around practice sets, skills around maybe building and giving exercises. And that's like how we usually do whenever we take the lectures and the plans. So that's like a one workflow which we had. And similar to this, you can connect this particular agent with different tools and give it different skills, and you can continue expanding it. So the goal here is we're going to evolve this to a fully functional, like an employee at 100x, and hopefully right now this is working as an intern. And if you remember the last session which we did, is you have to start somewhere. So I think starting as an intern is a great place where this agent can learn from us. And once it has got the context, it has built its memory system, all the information which it needs to learn, then it can go ahead and like start taking things. How do we give access to the tools? Knowledge sharing can be done via skills. Now, this is where the MCPs comes in. So if you're not familiar with MCPs, again, I've done like multiple master classes about this. And again, I have to share a written tutorial for it in detail. But MCPs helps you to connect with all the tools. All the agents today, they don't directly like talk to tools. They need a system. An MCP standardizes protocol, how your agent or the LLM connects with different tools. So for example, if I'm using Claude, by the way, has the default connectors. So if you click on this plus icon and you use the connectors here, so you can see like it is connected to my Google Drive, it is connected to my Gmail search, and it is also, I can connect it to my calendar. Do you remember something which we discussed in the beginning of this workshop? Like we are giving access to different tools. So MCP becomes one of the way how you give access to different tools. Now, instead of me building and setting things up locally and manually, what I can do is I can use these connectors directly in the Claude. So I can just directly connect it. And this is one of the most easiest step, which I can just right now, it's as easy as just clicking on this connect button, and then it will ask me the permission to connect with my Google. And I can, if I'm okay, I'll basically share the access. And once I've done that, this is connected to my Google login. And now this has been done using my Claude, not again an agent which someone else has built and someone else is controlling. So I can ask it to like summarize the emails and get access to it. The more connectors I have, the more tools my agent will be able to access, and the more things they can perform. And with the right orchestration layer, which is the agency and how we instruct it to behave and how it learns over time, it can use this knowledge and tools to become an effective employee, which can like hopefully uh, basically like do task end to end. And that's the entire logic what we have here and what we are building. Now, I want to just quickly transition into the another really important real world application. I was talking about this as a story, right? In fact, like this was something happened in our cohort 2. Uh, we've been doing cohorts since last 2.5 years. This is going to be our 7th cohort, which we are starting next month. So Amit was part of the cohort 2. He was learning very similar principles, what I'm teaching you today, but obviously in a much more deeper manner, where he was able to like apply the same thing to build his first agent with a team. And right now he's working at Meta, which is now used worldwide for all the Meta ads platform. They rolled out this agent to 600 million users using the same first principles. And the reason why this entire learning philosophy and the teaching philosophy has worked with all of our students is because I'm not telling Soumitra to use another hype tool which came in the market, right? He's not using another open Claude equivalent or maybe like AutoGPT or Baby AGI, which are the tools and which are the softwares which keep on coming. But essentially, if you understand from the first principles that all of them were actually nothing, just LLMs and memory plus tools running in a loop to achieve a goal. And they were just different flavors and different versions of each and everything. So what we did is we tried to like understand the principles and convey this. And once you understand these principles, you can apply this to build what we are able to build through this Raspberry Pi employee. And Soumitra applied the same principles to build the Meta Ads agent, um, and basically like got this confidence to like deploy this to over 600 million users. And that's the real world impact at 100x what we do and what we basically planning to do with all these knowledge, not just again using a tool and uh, limiting ourselves to a tool-based teaching. So this is one of the major part where I basically have, I want to transition to the case studies of our students and how they have built things. There was another very interesting case study, which was from this person called Devyansh. He was a cohort one student, and he used to do like a lot of LinkedIn marketing for his clients. So he used to write great content on LinkedIn. And one of the reason why I think Devyansh got success initially, and this was like very early, like 2 years back. By the way, all of these people, Soumitra, Devyansh, they were the ones who were building agents like not today, but two and 2.5 years back, when agent as a term was like not very popular and things were not very well defined. But because the principles are same, uh, which basically like remain same, and the tools have evolved, the thinking model didn't change at all. So Devyansh used the same exact thinking model, that how can he transfer the domain expertise, what he has learned, how to write better content on LinkedIn, and teach this to LLM, and give this LLM a memory and tools. In this case, the tool was LinkedIn itself. So he built an agent which started writing exactly like Devyansh, because it had access to all the past data. And Devyansh has given all the skills to this agent, and it can understand and write exactly like the content which works based on Devyansh's personal experience. And he was able to scale his own expertise, which is the next big wave, I believe, in the age of AI employees. I believe before we see the rise of AI employees working by themselves, we will see AI clones of very smart people, especially the industry experts. They will multiply their skills. So, for example, what Devyansh was able to do, he was really good at like writing content on LinkedIn. Now, he has multiplied himself, his writing skill. So he doesn't need to work 24 by hours, 24 by 7 to like write content and get paid for it. His agents are working and actually like using the same techniques and the same principles, what has delivered value to himself. And he converted this entire thing into a product called Buzzly. He got acquired by or acquired by LinkedIn for this project. So somebody from LinkedIn reached out to Devyansh that what are you building is like really cool and interesting. Why don't you join the team? And hence, this is exactly how LinkedIn, Devyansh joined LinkedIn, so worked there, and over time he built his own product, left LinkedIn. Now he's like full time taking Buzzly ahead. Um, this is another, I would say, success story which is driven by first principle thinking and learning and applying things. Uh, the last but not the least, I want to talk about Pranay, which has been a most high impact success stories in the video and marketing domain we had. He was running a marketing agency before joining the cohort. He's a founder himself. He met another person called Rahul in the team. Rahul, very smart fellow, IIT Delhi, post 30 under 30. He was a techie. Pranay was a marketing guy. Both of them joined hands and they found each other in the community. And they started building a new company called Nexi Labs. This is a generative AI agency which they started during the cohort. They were taking projects. And you know, like how they are getting the projects while they were learning? Because 70% of our audience are entrepreneurs and senior execs. When I talk about senior execs, we have people like these. Um, we had team of AirAsia in the last to last cohort. We had VP of product Disney, and we have Morgan Stanley's VP. We had VP of Scalar, director of Cognizant. Basically, all these senior execs who are managing like tech roles and Fortune 500 businesses. This became like over the time our majority, 60 to 70% of our audience. Now, what happens if you end up starting a business while you were learning and in this community? And what exactly Pranay did is that he spoke to Ravi, who was the CMO of AirAsia, and he cracked his deal with AirAsia. He basically delivered the marketing campaign. And in fact, he did a workshop there as well. That helped him to like build his great initial portfolio. Now, what he is doing is using the first principle learning as the way to transform what he was doing, which was just doing regular marketing. He's now started like a generative AI marketing agency, started doing content and worked with companies like AirAsia, and he started getting clients from the community itself. So that helped him to bootstrap the entire business journey. He went from almost zero to now $500,000. The revenue he has made, $500,000 almost, by just like bootstrapping this entire business without taking any external funds, which is a very, I would say, strong proof of work that if you learn things from the principles and apply to solve real world problems while you are learning things with the set of people who have access and reach that can maybe hopefully convert and become your client one day. Just by being in this environment, I think we can see like a lot more ideas can create a real world impact. And that is what education should do. And that's what my personal belief is, rather than talking about tools and making like a video about there are 5 ways how Claudebot can take your job and like things like that. I think this is a better way of like teaching and educating people. And that's personally what I'm excited about. And this is what we've been doing at 100x from last 2.5 years. So we started like two major paths in this, and how it works, I'll quickly explain you right now. So we have two paths how people choose their journey: the career track and the execution path. As I mentioned, we majorly attract people who are entrepreneurs and senior execs. So this is the majority of the audience. But we also like have a good 40%, sometimes 35% chunk of people who are professionals. These are AI engineers. These are AI marketers, AI product managers, and they are like building things because they want to upskill or maybe like move um, into like the AI roles. What happens over time is that the entrepreneurs and the senior execs, they end up, because of the sheer volume we are running low on supply. We have more demand than what we can supply for the talent that we have. So we're always looking out for finding these great people and like people who are really skilled. And one of my personal reason to like start teaching is that I think once we teach more people, I think we can create enough supply of like really talented and smart folks who learn and build things from first principles without like relying on the hype tool, and then they can like really create the impact in the society. And that's basically what happened over time. So it became an independent ecosystem where our entrepreneurs and senior execs are coming and they're doing experiments, and whenever they need talent, they hire people from our career accelerator track, which is where people learning and upskilling themselves. You can do this with both code and no code. One thing we have tested across all these curriculums is that you don't need to be a coder. If you are somebody who is, as I mentioned, like Ravi was the CMO, he didn't write code, but he still automated a lot of his content. In fact, if you look his content recently, he has built his own AI avatars, which like talks like him. He has a script, an agent, which basically posts the content, and all of this without even writing a single line of code. On the other hand, again, there are like people like Divyansh and people like Soumitra who did write code and who basically built these agents. So our thesis here is that you can execute applied AI and these first principles using both code and no code paths, and that's why like we have a segregation of this. So once you like do this, you get a very personalized experience for you. You can choose the entrepreneurship and the execution path of how you want to go ahead, the code and no code, and that shapes the entire ecosystem, and which basically builds this community of like people who are from all sort of places and with all sort of like different job roles, from marketers, from say designers, engineers, founders, and senior execs. And then a lot of these kind of things happen where people start their businesses. And by the way, this is the recent stat. We have crossed like 10 plus bootstrap uh, businesses which have been incubated in the last 1 year itself. So this is the track which I've been keeping. There are a lot more businesses which are getting incubated, which I'm not aware of, but something that I've been actively like working. So, and all of previous slide. Okay. This one? No. Let me come back to the ventures. Yeah. So this was the ventures which were born from the cohort, and this list is like still growing. We're adding like all the folks. So if you can look at, apart from what Pranay and Rahul I spoke about, Mohit started his own AI consultancy, grown from like 1 to 200 plus clients. Atharv started Morphica, which is a one-stop solution for image and video generation. Supriya has a very interesting use case, by the way. I met him yesterday. We had a meetup in Bangalore. He's right now building a voice-based bookkeeping for SMBs and yeah, small and medium-sized business owners, especially in India, who do not use CRMs and these softwares, but they still use the, I would say, the handwritten registers and the notes. So, and he has ended up building a vernacular bot, which is now helping them. It's known as TalkBook. Muskan raised almost like once a year of funding from NVIDIA and Startup India program. And she's now building the marketing agent called Muse AI. Sushruth has built Inflection. Akash built What an idea, which is on the really cool AI agency, and he's been like experimenting a lot with a lot of these workflows for different movies and films. These are some of the stories which we had from the ventures, which we got. But this was not only limited to it. I think one of the major thing we have seen is the kind of people who are coming in, the experiments they are doing, that is shaping the industry in terms of the new roles. This happened with Resham. So Resham right now works at Yashraj Films as an AI VFX artist, which was one of the first type of role in the entire industry of Bollywood. Before Yashraj reached out to us, they wanted somebody who can experiment with AI, because we were posting a lot about how you can use these 3D animations and do virtual effects without like actually rendering those complex animations manually, I can say frame by frame. So Resham was a game designer, a game developer, by the way. So she applied the same skills and then learned about like how do you use generative AI models, like especially the image and video generation model, and started like doing some interesting experiments, which got her the opportunity to work at VFX. So and that's basically how it happened. So right now, like there's an industry which is like forming for AI VFX artists. So this happened again like with cohort 2. This was 2 years back. A lot of these early roles helped us to set up things. We had like people who are now Comfy UI developer, which was also like a role that was not existent in the market before we were teaching this module called Comfy UI. There are now people who are having a role like this. So all of these things are basically just a proof, small proof of like all the experiments what we are doing here. It's actually resulting into the real world impact, and I feel like that is the best way to judge whether the curriculum or the education has any meaning or not. Because if I've been doing all of these things and I wouldn't have all these stories and things to tell you guys about, I think this had been very difficult for me to like survive as a business. But now we have like enough number of people who have like seen success in like different areas through different methods, but learning from all the same principles which we teach. I think it gave us like a good enough reason as well as a confidence to talk about this. And this is basically been what working really well for the community. So I think that's something which I'm like in a way kind of proud of, that we have like built one of the largest Gen AI ecosystem, which is independent in nature. So we don't need to depend on like 5 other companies that potentially they will hire from us, or maybe like we will source talent from different company, or maybe we'll hire educators from different businesses. All of our educators are also experimenters and learners itself. Pranay came in and became one of the instructor. Sridev Ramesh, who is my co-founder, he is one of my instructor. I lead majority of the part for the agents and LMs. Tejas, who was my ex-colleague and CTO of EOS Labs, which is basically the company who has deployed these marketing or AI solutions to companies like Prime Videos, Netflix, Coca-Cola. Right now, they're working with these companies. So these are the folks who are building and who are sharing the knowledge in the community. And Now coming to the schedule, like if you are somebody who thinks that all of this what I showed and what you have learned so far resonated with you, and you are somebody who do not want to just use the tool but want to understand the principles behind it and learn how to use these principles to build the solutions that can create real world impact like the ones which I showed so far. I think this might be interesting. So you can check out what we are doing here. We're starting the next cohort on 13th March. So how it works is we have Fridays and Saturdays live classes. We don't believe in recorded courses anymore. I don't think like that's the best way for anyone to like engage and learn something. If you have a really smart community of people, I think the best way you can learn is by engaging with them. So we have like a lot of these interesting activities on Friday and Saturday. We build things together. We learn all of these things happen like during a live session. So Friday and Saturday, 6 p.m. IST onward. These are the 90 to 120-minute classes. Then we have office hours. Now these office hours are dependent on the career track and the execution path which you have chosen. So for the entrepreneurs, we have a separate program. We call this 100x entrepreneurship track. There you learn about how to go with validating your idea and also like reaching out to people, getting your first customer, doing all of these things throughout Monday to Thursday. So this is apart from your teaching which happens. If you are somebody who wants to upskill yourself in the career and maybe want to like switch in the AI roles and AI jobs, then we have a different office hour based on that, say, outcome category. So where we talk about it, what kind of roles which are getting formed in this industry, because we have some data from first-hand experience that what kind of roles are actually getting success. So we like help you to like give those experience so that you will learn things and become those first few people who define and shape the industry of next generation of jobs, just like what Risham was doing in Bollywood. Um, Apart from that, we have bi-weekly pod check-ins. Now, we realize that because this community is actually the most important part, I believe that if you are thinking about doing a cohort like this, don't join only for the curriculum and all the teaching. I would say community becomes a really important value here, because all the success stories which I have personally seen is happened because these guys are working and building really cool stuff with each other, not individually alone. And that basically led them to like form their teams, companies, or maybe like get hired in these companies, other companies as well. So we pair you with like really smart people in the community based on the profile and based on the questions. So we ask like bunch of questions in the beginning, and we help you like form your own pod, and we do these check-ins every bi-weekly just to make sure that you are actually like learning from your peers. There's a saying that you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with, right? So that's basically like where we uh, help you with networking. And then we have like definitely a specialized lab session, and this happens over 24 weeks, which is 6 month long journey. And that's, I believe, the kind of commitment you need if you're somebody who is serious about building things which are not toy projects, which are not something just a cool demo, but something that can create real world impact. The amount of weekly commitment which we suggest is like 8 to 10 hours you would be requiring. This is including watching the lectures, performing the exercise. Whether this is the hands-on cohort, don't expect that you join this and passively watch the lectures and maybe recording and you'll get like uh, the graduation out of it. We only graduate people who actually build things, right? So if you're part of this, you have to like work every week in the sense applying the knowledge, because there is no point you just like consuming the information. It's not Netflix. It's basically like you actually like learning and creating the impact, right? And if you want to create the impact, you need to put in, this is the amount of effort which we estimate. Um, what are the things we are providing right now? Apart from live sessions, one thing which we realize, and I was telling you, right, a lot of these experiments, what Claudebot is doing, our students have been doing this from last 2.5 years, like again, starting from what Devyansh did, what Soumitra did. So they had actually built similar implementation of this way early. And in order for them to like do these experiments, they could not do this on their machine because, as I mentioned, like it's not, first of all, safe. And sometimes it's also not possible because you might not have a machine which has, say, maybe 24 gigs of RAM, or maybe like a huge enough RAM where you can download and fine tune the model. So we provide cloud GPUs to every student who joins the cohort so that you have your one dedicated server. You don't need to pay for it. So this is everything included. We sign you up for the cloud. And this is a GPU, by the way, not a regular CPU, which I showed you on DigitalOcean. That was just a CPU of 4 GB of RAM. These are GPU machines which has up to 32 GB of RAM, which would cost you, if you buy these GPU machines locally in the market, around 2.5 to 3 lakhs, somewhere around like $2,000 to $2,500. That's the like the machines which we are using. So we share these machine access to all the students so that you can run all your experiments and all the things which you are learning in the cohort. Weekly office hours, and one thing which you'll get once you join like one program is that the access to all the upcoming updates, because the GenAI spaces keep on changing. Once you have say learned about something, we will give you access to the next two cohorts. So for example, if you join C6 or C7, then you will get access to the C8 and C9 in a recorded format. So you can still watch the content and see like what are things which are changing and evolving. And the lifetime access to the community, right? So this is, I think, again, the best part of all of this thing, what we are doing. It's like you get to meet with people, you can like, again, build your network, you can connect with them, you can start a business, you can get hired by these people, or you can hire yourself if you're somebody who's looking for talent. Finally, I talk about the curriculum, what we learn, everything, as I mentioned, which you need to learn about generative AI. We cover like end to end, starting from image and video models. So the first module is all about like how do you build something with these images and video models, not only just using the Nano Banana tool, but actually learning the architecture and design of how these tools are getting built, how can customize the open source tools or the workflows which you can run on your machine or maybe on a cloud machine. Learn about in the next module, LLMs and full stack. How do you build a production ready application using both code and no code approach? And finally, we do the agents. So this is the module where you learn about how do you build something like the Claude bot, right? And how we are building this agent at Analytics today. I have a full curriculum with me, but I'll not go through it right now because it's actually like slightly lengthy. What I'll do is instead I'll share the entire detail of this curriculum to all of you. But if you are somebody who is curious, who thinks that this makes sense, and you want to like reach out to us, this is a QR code and this is the pricing which we have. There's a special pricing for this webinar, which is 1,24,000. If you go to our website, the regular pricing is 1,74,000. For student discount, you can avail this at 1,04,000. So if you are a student, you reach out to us, you can give us your ID. Yeah, for the verification. And if you are somebody who is interested, who think that this might work for you, you can scan this QR code and just send us a message about learn more. We will basically reach out to you. We have a team who is sitting here, so who can help you to also like give you all the resources and material. If you are somebody who has questions about like maybe this is for me or not, we can help you to find the relevant stories and case studies if somebody who has like similar experience and what they have been able to do. So you get like more ideas as well, that what are the things people are doing in your industry and domain. So if you want to know more about those things, just scan this QR code, ask, just type learn more. Somebody from our team will reach out. I think Naren, you can send the link as well. So we have dropped the link to this. Now, this is the end of the webinar. I'll take some questions right now. If you have any questions, I'll keep this tab open. So yeah, just drop in the questions in the chat. I'll start right now. Can we have the guide? Yes, I am updating the guide. My agent is still working in the background. So once that is done, I'll send you like first thing. I think it will be done in next like 15, 20 minutes. I've been trying to like do this while I was teaching you. So there's in parallelly, my agent is writing the guide. Yes, you will receive the guide. Are you AI in this video? I think that's the question which I can't answer. I think you guys can judge this. AI will replace web developers. No, I think there's a very interesting take on this, which I believe is going to be very true. There are tasks which are difficult for human beings, and there are tasks which are difficult for computers. In a short time, until we hit AGI, which I haven't seen yet, and I don't think like the Claudebot is the AGI. But until we hit AGI, we have this wide gap in the capabilities and skills of what computers are really good at, or what AI is really good at, and what humans are really good at. So identifying the task which comes in this intersection of things that are AI cannot do today, or maybe like cannot do reliably today, but humans can do really well. This is like judgment, uh, and basically like taking the ownership, coming up with new ideas, giving instructions. Uh, this is known as Morvick's paradox, by the way. And this has been like a very core of what and how we do the skill analysis of the people. So whenever somebody joins the program, we do 1 month of self-discovery with them, where we ask you all the questions about uh, what are things you've been doing, what are the skills you have learned, and we'll give you like a real projection that in the next 2 to 3 years, based on our data, what we have seen across 50,000 plus students, which we have taught through these master classes and our courses, is that what is the projection for the skills you have today? How many of those skills maybe AI can learn in the next 1 to 2 years? And what are skills in your industry which can you hear me now? Hello? Yeah, sorry. I think my mic battery died. I was just like asking about, sorry, like mentioning about this thing called what we do at 100x, the self-diagnosis and the self-discovery part, which helps you to understand what kind of skills you have today and what are the skills that AI is getting good at and what are the skills you still might need as a human being, which gives you like a good personalized roadmap. So that's a really nice way to start planning instead of like yeah, getting worried about that, will AI replace my job or not? I think you should look at from the skill perspective rather than job perspective, because I don't think like right now AI is capable of doing end-to-end job. We've been doing this experiment from quite some time right now, and we have seen like the kind of challenges we have faced. And in fact, I've been using the Claude bot as well. So I don't think like I can totally rely on these agents as of now. They need a lot of hand holding and the evaluation. But yes, there are definitely skills which AI is picking up really well. So I think if you understand those things, it becomes very easy for you to plan your journey ahead. But the short answer is, if you are somebody who is just converting instructions into code, I think your job is at risk, right? I won't say you will get replaced today, but it's a right time for you to like start thinking about that. What are the other skills I can learn so that in future I won't have any problem. Emergent has launched a way to use a Claude bot. So if you go to Emergent's website right now, you would be able to see, and I'll share the link to all of this as I mentioned in a guide. So you will have like a step-by-step guide to this. Yeah, I think if you have learned the first principles from this webinar, I think you will be able to like apply these things really well. Those two things which I told about, like connecting the LMs with memory and tool, those are the major part of this entire agent revolution. Now, how you can like build something, you can directly use Claude if you are a non-coder, and you can convert the workflows which you are using, convert those into skills. upload skills to the Claude, connect it with the tools that you have access to, and you can start like automating things even without say like doing maybe like a 6-month long program. So that these are things which are the direct application of what I was teaching today. Now, these principles don't change, but the tooling and the application change once in a while. So it's as again, it's not very easy and convenient for me to like cover all the applications right now. So as I mentioned, what I'll do is I'll share the guides for each and every setup. So you can set up those things and apply the same principles. In fact, I'll also like share one of the guide which we have written about like building your first AI agent. We made a video tutorial as well. So I think that's something some people can access. DigitalOcean versus downloading on laptop, as no native Mac access to files on laptop or apps with DigitalOcean, so downloading CloudBot is better to the device. Yeah, DigitalOcean or any cloud server, as I mentioned, is gonna be much more secure way. If you're doing it on your device, just make sure that you don't have any sensitive information or you don't connect that device to something which has a sensitive information, maybe your email, your personal WhatsApp. So those are the security concerns. As I mentioned, I have a security checklist, which I'll send all of you. How can an architect use these tools? I have a very good framework, Sean. You can use OPT. So this stands for operating model, process, and task. If you can define and maybe like help me give your OPT, and you can again, if you want the prompt for it, you can scan the QR code and just ask for OPT. We'll send you the prompt for it. And once you perform this activity, you yourself will get the clarity on exactly how you as an architect can use this. In fact, like anyone who is curious that how I maybe as somebody who is not from tech industry or maybe like doing something different can apply the same principles and things which I'm teaching in your day-to-day job. So yeah, if you scan the QR code and ask OPT, I can send you the exact OPT prompt which we have that can help you to like get clarity on the personal and specific applications. Yeah, the agent I've been using, it's actually built by, it's using the same LLM, the Opus 4.5, and we have given it a memory and the tools, which are my drive and the email. So you can also use this without compromising your personal details. If you are somebody who is interested, as I mentioned, I can share some written guide and tutorials, but this is not something which anyone can learn in like 60 to 90 minutes, learning, especially like building the entire solution. But I think you can get quite far setting up your MVP for this agent. So I think you can learn that really well. Because in terms of like building this, I think we ourselves like been working on this from last 6.5 months, close to that. So it took us that much amount of time. So I think that's a realistic timeline. Again, my job is not to sell you the hype and tell you that, okay, you can do everything in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I'll give you the more realistic expectation and timelines. And this is actually what it takes. If you're creating a real world impact, all the students and all the things which we have seen so far, which really works at enterprise level and solves a business problem, these are not the things which you can do in 30-20 minutes. This takes time. And I think that's why we also believe that a longer uh, structured program would help people rather than just doing, say, 2 or 3 minute tutorial videos. How can we use AI to upskill ourselves and make industry ready? Yeah, if you want a quick answer to that, just maybe look at our curriculum and do all of these things. That's the short answer to Akash, who asked this, right? How can you use AI to upskill yourself? Maybe you build your own agent, you give Claude access to, say, your drive or maybe a folder where you are storing and keeping track of all the documents. upload the context of who you are, what you want to do, give it some skills that how you want to learn something from it, and give maybe upload the entire thing from here. And one thing you should remember that all of these are very fundamental concept. So this is something which I have been learning from my experience, like when like building applications and software, is that these are very foundation principles which haven't changed from last almost like 20 to 50 years. So if you really learn these foundations really well, I think there's a very good chance that you can still upskill yourself and become industry ready. One other thing which why people don't do this and why it's harder is because this kind of process takes a lot of trial and error. For example, if you end up like say building your own agent, today you will get lost in the social media hype around like what's trending, what's popular, and what is useful and what is not useful. What are the security compromises you need to do? So a lot of context, if you are somebody who's new as a beginner, you might not have, and you will end up wasting a lot of time. So in order for you to learn all of these things, if you decide, you can actually, a lot of people did learn a lot of these things by themselves, but it's just like the time it takes and the amount of discipline it takes, it's like way too higher for normal population. So you'll be end up spending like next 1 to 2 years just by figuring out the things. So that's, and by the time you learn these things, there's be 10 more new things in the market which have been released. So you always play this catch-up game. So I think that's something which we have realized is that yeah, why this kind of program works for people who want to like learn these things and upskill themselves. Do you know any TTS model? By the way, I think one more resource I can share right now with all of you. Uh, this is the answer to the question, any free resources for the large language models? So two resources, one is Ollama, another one is OpenRouter. First, I'll talk about OpenRouter. So this is a link. If you are somebody who wants to use the free models, open source one, you can use OpenRouter and you can scan here, you can do the pricing low to high. All of these models are gonna be like $0 per million output. So you can see the pricing here for this is 000. A lot of free models available out there on OpenRouter, so you can like try and test these things out. If you don't want to run it on your machine, OpenRouter gives you option to like run it online. If you're somebody who has the machine who can maybe run these kind of models, then the second best option is Ollama. This is where you can download the software locally and you can run these models like Kimi K2.5, one of the latest release, very strong model, GLM 4.7. If you're somebody who's a coder, I would recommend you can try this out. Very good open source alternative to Claude. So these are the models which you can download locally and run it. So two ways, if you're somebody who's looking for free models, one is Ollama, another one is the OpenRouter. And this also I will share in the resource link, by the way. I have a lot of questions. So I think, by the way, like if by any chance I miss your question, which I think I will, because there's so many questions which are pending, do scan this QR code. You can also like talk to our team. Just type learn more. Somebody from our team will reach out to you. If you have any question regarding the curriculum and the teaching, I will take a few questions which I have not answered until yet. What are the free ways to generate videos? There are again open source models out there, but you do need compute, which means like you need a computer which can run these models, which are usually heavy. So how do we stay updated with the latest development post the cohort? One of the capstone project, Anant, we built as I think I recently started like doing this. Every student who builds things with 100x, because building becomes like a second nature for you. If you like spend 6 months of time every say you're building something, learning something, so you'll realize that you can build a lot of cool stuff. One of the thing which I have built and I tell all of my students to build is this personalized AI newsletter or a morning brief generator, where we give you the trusted sources. So there are like some people and follow authors which I personally follow, and some companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, because I need to make sure that whenever they release a new model, I am up to date. So we have built our own, I think, in fact, a lot of our students, at least from recent batches, they have built our own personalized AI newsletter. They put their sources there, and which can basically scan the all the I would say these sources and give them a daily brief in the morning. So that's one of the common way how most people end up using it. But apart from that, the second most important thing is we give you access to all the like two cohorts, the upcoming two cohorts. Say, for example, if you joined cohort 6 with us, so you get access to cohort 7 and cohort 8. Even after you graduate, you still get access to the recordings, the recorded content of the upcoming cohorts. So you'll be able to, I can stay updated using these things. How do we build LMs from scratch? Watch Andres Karpathy's video. I think that's a great resource. You can, if you're somebody who wants to build LM from scratch, you don't need to type learn more here, guys. You need to scan the QR code and then type learn more. Okay, I'm a MERN stack developer. How can I stay relevant in this industry? What are the skills I need to get it right now? Very good question, Afzal. As a developer, I believe the engineering is still really important as a skill, problem solving, designing systems and architecting solutions. If you are somebody who is just converting your instructions into code, as I was mentioning, I think then you have to like take a step back and start learning system design, start learning about how do you architect solutions, build these solutions, which we've been learning today. So that's one of the way. And another thing is like, again, using AI to accelerate your journey. So we basically like have a lot of tools for developers today, using Claude Code being one of my favorite, where you can like use this to like build application and give the instructions. So yeah, I think learning the right tools. In fact, we have recent openings from a lot of Indian startups, surprisingly right now, who are hiring for engineers, especially like developers who can code with Claude Code. So I think if you can do that, that's a really good way to upskill yourself. Lifetime Alumni Network. Yeah, this is the community. So we start our community on Discord, and we have our alumni community on WhatsApp, which is basically once you graduate from the cohort, you get added to this community. We do regular meetups. One we did yesterday. So we have monthly, quarterly meetups across the India, and very soon we are starting across the world as well. So if you are even outside India, we are planning to do meetups in different part of the world. So you get added to this alumni group. We still like get in touch with you. We'll still like share all these stories, and if you need our help, there's a very active community of alumni who is basically here, and that's what I mean when I say you get access to lifetime alumni community. How can AI agents help students or freshers for to land their first job? I think this is very common in our cohort, especially through the employment and career accelerator tracks. A lot of early stage founders and people who are doing research, they are not very sure that exactly whether this research will turn into, I would say, something productive or useful. So they cannot spend or maybe hire, say, like a senior engineer to do these experiments and do this research. One of the common alternative they have been doing and what we have observed is these founders and senior execs, they come to us with these requirements specifically that do you have a fresher, do you have somebody who is junior, who will basically does not like say take like a salary like a senior engineer, but can still learn and apply these things what we have learned in the cohort and do experiments with us on a continuous basis. So you have a lot of these roles through both full-time, part-time internship kind of opportunities within the community itself. And in fact, a lot of these projects are actually led by freshers and juniors. And once you end up building these things when you're in cohort, you will see in 6 months you will build a portfolio of projects that you can now show to your employers wherever you are applying, which becomes a very easy, I would say, task for any employers as well to judge whether you have done something interesting or not. So this kind of like helps you, because if you're in the right community and you have like access to right people who can bet on you and who can basically take the chance, and you can then maybe learn while working and learn while building. So that's the best way, I would say, if you are a fresher or somebody who's starting the career. Which cloud-based GPU is good in India? I think there are like lot of them, but I would basically like recommend you to find something which is under your budget. DigitalOcean is great. I've done BCom, but that I have done software engineering from NIIT. Now I have 3 years of experience in full stack web development, and I'm on notice period. Will my degree create problems in the future? I don't think, Ashish. No, that's not the problem. We have seen that. Yeah, I don't think like degrees will play like an important role. If you have the right skills, I think you'll be good. Is there any option to buy the program without paying upfront? We do have options for no cost EMI. So again, if you're interested, you can reach out to our team. Our team can help you in like understanding how the no cost EMI works. So yes, you don't need to like pay everything upfront. We do have option for the no cost EMI. Minimum qualification required to join the cohort. There is no minimum qualification. As long as you have this intent of where you can spend at least 8 to 10 hours weekly. I would say one thing which we have seen really working for most of our students, although it's not limited to these areas, but if you are from these areas, whether you have worked in the tech industry as an engineer, or you have worked as a product manager, designer, growth, marketing, or in business roles as well, um, you can apply AI into your own industry and you can see like great impact there itself. So that's something which we have seen again and again. If you combine the domain expertise with the application of AI, you can basically stand out in your industry and like become really valuable to the company where you're working, or maybe where you wish to work in future. But as per the current cohort, we don't have any minimum qualification. Yes, you can join in even if you don't have a degree. Yeah. We are hosting the cohort, Abhijit. So we are the folks, including me, my co-founder, and so these are the folks who will be like working and teaching you guys, along with the community of the people who will be active on the Discord. So our community lives in Discord. We do sessions like this on Zoom every weekend, and these are the folks who you will be learning from. I think I answered this question already. No, Fariduddin, if you have researched already, this is not only coding heavy. as I mentioned, I'll just show this slide once again. We have developed path for each and every person, right? So even if you are somebody who do not understand code, but you have curiosity to build and learn how to like build these systems. So we use N8N, Langflow, and there are like whole tech stack of like no coding tools, which we have access to. By the way, my laptop is about to die. Can you get me a charger? Yeah, actually, I think my laptop battery is gonna be dead. So what I'll recommend you guys to do, you can scan the code. I'll try to like give you answers in async fashion as well. So maybe if you still have any questions which I'm not able to answer through this call, do send the questions through us. So, and as I mentioned, I'll share the guides and all the things which with you. So yeah, I think until then, I'll see you soon, and hope you learned something, and hope you apply the first principles from the workshop to build your agents. Cool. I'll see you soon.